I've mixed sourdough by hand for years and I absolutely love it. There's no two ways about it. But there have been a few problems and I just can't work around them. Juggling my morning mixing process with everything else that I need to do has always been messy and a bit disjointed. And then when I scale up, when I go past a kilo and a half of dough, the process does become tiresome. And then there's the enriched doughs. They kind of push everything past what's realistically easy to manage by hand. Then there's my recipe testing. Sometimes I just need that little bit more control to make everything practical. And that's exactly why I've bought on the Halo Pro and kind of slotted it into my workflow. Now this is not going to change how I bake or how I teach through these tutorials. Hand mixing is still very much at the core, at the heart of everything that I do, because that's how I've done it for over 10 years. This mixer is simply an option for when it genuinely makes my workflow smoother. Now, while I'm talking you through all of this, I'm going to run you through my country sourdough bake that I put together using the Halo Pro, and then you can see the outcome for yourself. Now, one of my biggest challenges is how I fit sourdough, how I slot it into my day so everything's nice and tidy. Mixing by hand's grounding, absolutely love it, but it can get messy, time consuming, and it really is hard to fit in when everything else, my life, is kind of spinning around me. My mornings can be a juggling act at best. I'm trying to hand mix the dough, trying to get Lydia's breakfast ready, I'm doing a packed lunch, and then I'm trying to get her ready for school as well. Trust me when I say things can get super messy super quickly. I guess it feels like I'm always working around the dough rather than alongside it. But you know what? In the week that I've been using the mixer, I have dialed in a much smoother workflow. I pre-weigh all of my ingredients the night before, nice and relaxed. And as soon as I get up, stroll into the kitchen, turn the mixer on, and then I add everything to the mixer, nice and relaxed. It gets a nice short mix while I make my coffee, then I switch it off and I just leave it to rest right there in the mixer. I get the breakfast sorted, pack Lydia's lunch up, get myself looking half decent before I shoot out for the school run. Soon as I'm back, I just turn the mixer on for another quick, steady mix while I get the kitchen tidied up. It's clean, it's contained, it's calm. There's no sticky hands, there's no dough to scrape off of my bench, and there's no rush trying to fit everything in while I'm getting my morning routine done. And that is exactly what I mean when I say that sourdough, it needs to fit in with my life, definitely not the other way around. And this, for the first time, has actually worked really well. Now I know what you're thinking, Phil, an 800 gram dough, that is an absolute doddle. It's easy to manage, but you know what? It's just rare that I ever make one loaf anymore. And that is a second problem that I needed to solve. Now I'm lucky. I get to bake for family, friends, neighbors. I bake for a few clients that I used to cook for privately. Then of course, there's my YouTube content, my Sourdough Unchained content. So one loaf, that's never happening. I'm baking 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I know there's a lot of you out there that are doing exactly the same. You've got family to bake for, friends to bake for. Maybe you're baking some for the freezer, or you're trying new recipes. So you'll know that as soon as you scale past that 1 to 1.5 kilo mark, hand mixing becomes a workout. It takes a lot of bloody effort to hand mix big batches. It's doable, I'm not going to argue, but it's exhausting. And you know what? I don't enjoy it. But the Halo Pro has taken that completely out of the equation for me. I can mix enough dough in one batch for 6 loaves. I don't even break a sweat, and I can easily fit it into my routine as I just explained. You know what's important for me? It's not just the output. It matters, but it's not the most important thing. I need to enjoy the process. I want a quality process. And that for me is how scaling should work. It should be streamlined. And it should be a process that I enjoy. Now, lean doughs, they're one thing. We can all mix those by hand, even if it's backbreaking, even if it takes a bit of effort. But enriched doughs, they're a completely different story. The issue is trying to get high amounts of fat worked into that dough while trying to develop strength. Now the best way to do that, the easiest way, is to build that gluten first, get that dough nice and strong. Then we can bring in the butter, the eggs, the sugar, all of that good stuff. But it is a mammoth task to build that much strength by hand. Even if you manage it, you've then got to fold in the fats afterwards. Things turn into a slippery, sloppy mess. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's ridiculous to try and do regularly, consistently, or at any sort of scale. So for brioche, panettone, baba rums, babkas, using a mixer is the right way to manage the process. Now with a Halo Pro, I can give the enriched doughs exactly what they need. I can build that strength in the dough right at the very beginning. Then I can bring in the fats, and I'm not breaking my back. I'm not redecorating my kitchen. When the process is managed properly, that final product, it shines instead of suffers. Now for me, that's opened the door to recipe development I just couldn't confidently do by hand. And speaking of recipe development, now mixing by hand can make it really difficult to test and compare refinements within the baking process, the method. Adding everything into our bowl, bringing it all together works beautifully, but it does get messy the moment we start to split up that mixing process, especially at scale when we're working with doughs that are over 1 kilo or 1.5 kilos. Adding water, different stages to kind of push the hydration, holding back the salt and bringing it in later, or autolyseing the flour and the water, then adding the leaven afterwards. All of these things, they are undoubtedly possible by hand. But for me at least, they're awkward, they're slow, and they're far from enjoyable. I think you know by now, I want to keep my process straightforward, streamlined. If I'm trying to improve the result, that extra time, the extra effort, it's got to be justified. But with a mixer now, I can test these processes efficiently without wasting my time. So why did I choose the Halo Pro? Because as a sourdough baker who also makes content, probably could have approached any of the big brands, any of the big manufacturers. But a few of my Sourdough Unchained members, they started to share their experiences, share their results using the Halo Pro. And I guess that's when I really started to pay attention, because these are bakers I trust. They mix the same doughs as you, as me. They're baking in real kitchens with real variables. And you know what? The first thing that stood out to me was the capacity. I can fit 5 kilos of dough in the bowl, which means I can get 6 loaves out of one mix. But even more importantly than that, the mixer stays firmly planted on the counter. Even under full load, it's not wandering, it's not skipping across the worktop. And that's exactly what I need for the kind of doughs that I make. Now, I was a bit concerned about the old dough temperature rising during mixing, especially with bigger batches. But I've got to say, the spiral mixing action and the bowl that rotates keeps that dough moving in this smooth, continuous motion. And that helps prevent any excessive heat buildup. That's exactly what I need for sourdough, because as you know, even a small rise in temperature can influence the whole fermentation chain. Now the mixing bowl is detachable, which is fantastic, but I can buy an extra bowl. Now that means I can mix my first batch of dough, lift it out of the machine in the bowl, pop it on my work surface, drop a second bowl into the machine and mix my second batch of dough. When the first one is ready for its next mix, I just rotate those bowls. There's no scraping the dough from the bowl to the container, then mixing another dough, scraping the dough, and so on. It just makes the process smoother. It sounds like a small thing, but I promise you, when you're scaling up, at least for me, just makes that whole process much smoother. All of this, everything I've mentioned, has helped me streamline, refine, and scale my workflow. Now, if you're in the same position as me, if you want that flexibility to scale up, if you want to take on enriched doughs with confidence, test new process properly, or you just want to improve your workflow, then having a mixer makes a real difference. And for me, this Halo Pro, it's ticked every single box. Now, if you want to take a closer look at it, I've added my link to the video description. It will take you to my Ooni page where you can pick your region and you can see all of the details. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.